Think about the last time someone asked you what your childhood was like, and you paused. Not because it was terrible, not because nothing happened, but because somewhere between the age of 6 and 16, you kind of stopped being a kid and started being whatever the moment needed you to be. Explaining that to someone feels like trying to describe a color that doesn't have a name, so you just said, "Oh, it was fine," and moved on. That pause right there, that's what I want to talk about today. Because something happens when childhood ends before it's supposed to, and I'm not talking about one big dramatic moment. It's usually a lot quieter than that. It could be sitting outside your parents' room at night because things were getting loud inside and you didn't know what else to do. It could be learning to read your mom's face the second she walked through the door. It could be being the one who kept the peace in your house, the one who made sure things didn't fall apart, not because anyone asked, but because you figured out early that somebody had to. Here's the thing that doesn't get talked about enough. That version of you, the one who had to hold everything together, doesn't just disappear when you grow up. It's still in there, still shaping how you make decisions, still deciding what feels safe and what doesn't, still running quietly in the background like something you never learned how to turn off. There's a kid, maybe 8 or 9 years old, and they've just become the most emotionally responsible person in their house. The adults around them are carrying too much of their own stuff to have space for someone else's. And something shifts in that child. Something quietly changes. Psychologists call this parentification. When a child takes on responsibilities that were never supposed to be theirs. But that word doesn't really capture it, does it? It doesn't capture what it actually felt like to be small and holding up something so much bigger than you. Research on this found something that sounds like a compliment at first. These kids develop what looks like exceptional maturity. They seem wise, composed, easy to be around. But here's what that actually means underneath. It's not maturity. It's a survival response. It's a child's mind learning to run in crisis mode as its normal setting. What felt completely normal to you was often someone else's emergency. And because of that, people who grew up this way become genuinely good at certain things. Reading a room before anyone says a word, knowing what someone needs before they've even asked, staying calm in situations that would panic most people. Those are real skills, and they're impressive. But those same things you built to survive come with a cost you didn't know you'd be paying later, because people who grew up too fast usually struggled the most with the simplest things. Not the big challenges, somehow those they handle without even thinking. It's the small stuff, asking for help without feeling like you're too much, sitting still without that voice saying you haven't earned this yet, being, I don't know, just easy, carefree, present. Those things feel almost wrong, because when you learned early that the world doesn't stop for you, that your needs come after everyone else's, you didn't just learn a lesson, you built a whole way of living around it, and that's still how you're living. So, what does this actually look like now? You're the one people call when things fall apart. The reliable one, the one who just handles it. You're drawn to people who need something from you. And I know that might sound like a criticism, but it's not. It's because being needed feels like love. It's the only kind you learn to recognize first. Relationships get hard. Getting close to someone feels risky in a way that's difficult to explain, because being vulnerable wasn't something you got to do growing up. So even now, even when you're safe, even when the person across from you actually cares, there's a part of you that won't fully open. You let people in, but only so far. You might even find yourself drawn to people who are emotionally unavailable. And before you beat yourself up about that, just understand this one thing. Distance feels familiar. It feels like home, because home was a place where you gave everything, and getting something back wasn't really how it worked. So when someone actually shows up steady and consistent and safe, part of you waits for it to fall apart. Because something that good just hasn't been your experience. There's also this thing with needing to control things, not in a bad way, just that deep need to manage every moving part around you. Because when you were young, things falling apart wasn't an idea. It was Tuesday. So now you plan for everything. People might call you anxious or a perfectionist, but what they're really seeing is someone who learned early that being unprepared had real consequences. The tiredness is real too. That heavy, deep tired, that sleep doesn't fix. That's not laziness. That's what happens when your body has been on guard since you were in elementary school. It never learned how to rest, because rest back then felt dangerous. And one more thing that might land hard. A lot of people who grew up too fast have a strange relationship with success. You accomplish real things, good things, and it never quite feels like enough. There's always a voice saying more, better, prove it, because your worth got tied to your usefulness a long time ago. And the hardest part of all of this, the world actually rewards it. Society loves people who grew up too fast. We're reliable, we don't ask for much, we get things done. But nobody asks what it cost us to become this way. You probably have moments where you're surrounded by people who love you, and you still feel completely alone. Not the obvious kind of lonely, the kind where nobody in the room sees how much energy it takes just to be there. And asking someone to notice that feels like, I don't know, admitting you've been pretending, like you failed at the one thing you were always supposed to be good at. I want to say something. You didn't become this way because something is wrong with you. You became this way because you were a kid in a situation that needed someone to hold things together. And you were there, and you showed up every single time. But that kid deserves someone to show up for them too. They deserve to be taken care of sometimes, and that not happening. That was never about their worth. That was about what was available. So what do you do with all of this? How do you heal from something you're not even sure counts as something to heal from? Because it wasn't one big event. It was 1,000 small moments of being too much and not enough at the same time. The first thing is to grieve. And I know that feels like a big word, but you're grieving something real. You're grieving the childhood you didn't get, the version of you who could have been messy and needy and totally irresponsible and still been completely loved. That kid deserved that. Saying that out loud doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. The second thing is harder. You have to slowly learn that being needed is not the same as being valued, and that how much you do for people is not what makes you worth keeping. You are not a human doing. You are a human being, and just being is enough. You're allowed to rest without earning it. You're allowed to not have the answers. You're allowed to fall apart sometimes and still be worth showing up for. And the most important one, you're allowed to be a beginner at letting people love you, because that's genuinely what you are. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 45. You never really got to learn this. So, be patient with yourself while you do. That child who grew up too fast, the one who kept things together when nothing else would, they did something incredible. They were strong and steady and brave in ways most people never have to be. But they can rest now. They don't have to run everything anymore. It's okay to let someone else hold it for a while. It's okay to just exist without being responsible for how it all turns out. You've been holding on so tightly for so long. What would it feel like to finally let go? One question before you go. What is one thing you wish someone had said to you when you were carrying all of that? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one.